Move on, Dusty versus NYYRIKKI. And for those of you who are like, oh, it's NYYRIKKI, they're not looking good, I beg to differ, and we'll talk about that soon enough, as soon as we see the fan on the street from Dusty.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Lyncas here. You may know me as former NLC player for Dusty and for the funny interviews. I've come here to give you predictions, my predictions for Dusty versus NYYRIKKI on the first game, and they've played kind of calm and collected. So the Battle of the Titans, I predict Dusty to win the second game. This game should be as easy as stealing a candy from a baby. Give me that shit. Let's go! Sui! Viva Dusty!
Okay, I was not expecting that second
Can't
point.
hold the wind, it's too strong. I can't hold onto the deck.
I was like, well, this is a fun segment. Wait, is he stealing a baby? Well, like stealing a candy from a baby. But is NYYRIKKI a baby? And where should we focus? I know he's kind of shocked.
That's a very interesting question. I'm going to start with a no. I don't think they are a baby. But metaphorically speaking, they might be the baby if they lose today.
It's always good to have you back. I want to focus on the top side as well. We have on one side Banderas, we talked about Emma on the pre-show, and then you have Kerberos. We're talking about another good top laner. Should we focus on top lane?
I think so. I think both of these laners have picked for individual matchups before, and Kerberos has had so many solo kills in our league last year. We keep echoing back to this. Kerberos was the solo kill leader of last year throughout the entire NLC season over the entire year. And you look at Banderas, you look at that last game on the Fiora, while this guy has had some weaker moments too, his strengths have been real shining bright points for NYYRIKKI. So I think this one's going to be a butting of strengths.
And we've seen them fight and clash against each other. I do believe we even have a video of these top laners. Both on Fiora. Yeah, that's the thing. They both play Fiora. They're both looking for the split push. And they're both looking clean.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this one specifically when the game was looking very iffy, and he pretty much single-handedly was winning the game against Venia by being able to take down inhibitors, always being able to dive on the opposite front. I think what was really interesting, though, in the first one as well, coming through from Banderas, was that he's not afraid to pick this champion on blue side if he saw the window. Like, quite often, Fiora is one of these champions where you want to know how the draft looks like before you slam it. And therefore, I also think red side, in terms of these top laners going up against each other, is going to matter. We just heard it from Riddle as well here, with Jax playing obviously loving having red side every single time. And it makes a lot of sense if you are playing through solo laners.
Any take before we jump into Champion Select? Or
I think that covers the top lanes. I think on the rest of it, you know, just want to hammer home again.
It's still Dusty versus NYYRIKKI, because you keep looking backwards. I'm like,
I was just like, God, I just loved looking at that hat skull thing. Just
thing.
Sure. Anyway, but I think that, you know, we've hammered on that top lane. I think that it is worth saying again, though, NYYRIKKI are better than their results currently say. They have taken it to so many top-tier teams. Wouldn't be a surprise if they had a close game and they had a competitive game here and maybe even took a win.
You missed the spot, by the way.
Oh, sorry, is it here?
I don't know, actually, I don't know. But let's jump into Champion Select. You have to do it harder, man. You have to...
This was just, to me, like, kind of you giving me, like, the word again, so I could also say, well, there also is a possibility where this game is not going to be so much about the top laners, but they are saying, you know what, we have Den Voxner, and we have him against Acitor. All of a sudden, you just turn this into a bot lane matchup instead that can easily be played through. I think this is a very flexible teams in terms of how they can play it. We've seen Backlund has his pop-up performances
Absolutely.
now, as well on the LeBlanc. But even then, Aero, while he was mostly known for control mages in like Spring Split, have also been able to go on other champions that can kind of take control.
But control mages are starting to crop up again in quite a strong way. On Singularity's Piccione, who obviously wasn't playing today, but he played a lot of Azir. He's been playing that quite a lot. We've seen the resurgence of Victor, and of course Corki. Corki's been one of these champions which has been quite easily blind pickable now too, with a lot of players not really piloting the Azir to a level where it punishes it or doesn't want to pick a composition for the Azir. I could definitely see that being an early pick, particularly when you're starting to remove some of the more proactive mid laners like the Yasuo, which can combo up and kill such control mages.
Okay, so champions banned so far on red side, which is usually what I want to take into account. Wukong, Seri, no Yuumi just yet. Yuumi's open, Yuumi's available, did get hit a little bit on the patch, still an annoying cat.
Yes.
Corki, also a possibility. Volibear, also a possibility. Once again, I feel like on blue side right now, while you don't have that counter pick for solo laners, majority of the time, you get to be the first one in terms of where does one of these OP champions go, and you can just pick in between them.
Now, this is a very solid response, though, from Dusty. Very clear about their identity. This isn't going to be early jungle lock-in for priority in that matchup. That I feel like jungle has been one of those matchups nowadays where there are quite a lot of champions which you can pick which don't have as much contestedness in there. On the other side, though, you see that Nautilus, and you think, okay, let's try and think about the lane partners you want to get away from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting lock-in directly because I still feel like strong options like the Volibear we now see Flipper get instead over there. Not too many strong options into that one when Wukong is not available just due to how Viego has been hit. I think Sensao is still an option you can go for when you play into longer range champion like a Corki 2 to be that kind of frontliner to tank the Rockets. But I definitely feel like the champion pool for the junglers in terms of the meta we have is actually not getting expanded by the patches.
It's really
getting
strange.
Smaller and smaller.
So El Yoyo was actually chatting about this on one of the post-game lobbies in the LEC, where he said actually there are loads of champions you can play in jungle. It's just about the role that you play in the team.
And
it's like you can play on an individual level. It's just, can your team afford you going for something that doesn't bring engage, doesn't bring early pressure?
And that's why I said meta currently we have in the competitive scheme, because I feel like in solo queue, loads of options you can go for. But with this Yone pick coming in, we might already have had a jungler picked from the side of Dusty. Talia might be going into that jungle and not be in the mid lane, of course. Flexibility throughout the entire draft.
I did hear some brief whispers of Talia bot lane, and I'm looking at Nautilus to think, yeah, it'd be a fun combo. I don't think it's likely to, just worth just putting on that table.
Honestly, if you're going to ping it out, doing it against Kalista is a really solid lane
good,
to
yeah.
going it. It's so difficult for Kalista to play into those Weewood.
And Nautilus then drags them through to lots of different ways you can work around that. So we're not going to say it's happening. We're going to say it's an option.
We're definitely saying it's happening.
Yeah,
we're calling it right now. Lock it in.
100% Talia bots, okay.
No, it's important to notice that Voxnin was one of the first people who actually brought out the Gamma and Yumi back when he was playing
Yes,
in UK
a lot of mages.
Back in 2019. So obviously a guy that's very happy with going through different kinds of champions pool. I'm just trying to kind of back up our points. I'm banking on this Talia down towards the bottom lane now. So if this Twitch gets locked in, that would, some would say that would greatly decrease the chance of
I think
Jungle, oh my god!
Bottom lane.
Haru's back, we've got Israel Jungle.
Yeah.
It looks like, of course, that is going to be the Yone Talia and the Yone.
Damn it! I was trying really hard.
I did, you know, it was worth putting on that table. But what we have now is a high engage, kill pressure duo between the Yone and the Talia. Now, Talia is less bursty in the combo nowadays, so it's more about just having that consistent damage, but it's still something which is really annoying to play into, and something like Corki can't really disengage from that as soon as that, that minefield's down.
Yeah, we talked about it. Was it going to be about the solo laners, or was it going to be the bottom laners instead? Coming in with the lock-ins we could potentially see now, that kind of feels like it's going to be about that bottom lane instead. Vrel into Nautilus, it's a very interesting matchup because one thing, Vrel's Q take away the Nautilus shield, but it's still not that good of a matchup. You can get hooked out through your W. Like a lot of it comes down to how you engage the fight.
And for me, a lot of it's about, you got a Volibear, you got a Kalista, you want to be playing towards bot side. Again, it's very much what we saw from the X7 game, where Eminem played this similar kind of style before, and XL played it last week. The Volibear goes bot, it sets up the Kalista and the Rel for success outside of the base 2v2. It gets them an artificial lead by having jungle pressure down there.
Final words before we
let's
jump.
talk stylistics real quick. So it's just from NYYRIKKI, just gearing down towards that bottom lane, playing for the Kalista, get that ahead. From the side of Dusty, up towards the solo laners instead, you play for that. Having Ezreal and Nautilus, it is very doable to survive the lane you're facing right now. But if you make one mistake where you hook in at the wrong time, Volibear's down there, you completely flip the script. You cannot die in the first 15 minutes.
Who do you think is going to take it?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm going to go with Dusty.
So I also think Dusty are going to walk away with this. I do think on the other side, it's a very Bifrost draft. Kalista Wrecking Wall, play through that early. Make sure you get an unassailable lead. On the other side, if you don't get that Yone, that Camille, they have unparalleled target access. You are not going to be able to do damage if they get on top of you and they're not seriously far behind.
It seems like Dusty are favored on this one. If they win, they climb the stairs. However, if NYYRIKKI takes this one, they get closer to the top 6 for the playoffs. But without further ado, let's toss it to the casters. It's Viper Ruin in trouble yet again. Show us what's going to happen.
I'm always, well, as you know, I always love the idea of the like trying to build excitement for games.
Just knock
so I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit for what Artrom just did to close that out. He said, so if we see one of these teams win, they will go up in the standings. But if the other team wins, they'll go up in the standings. I mean, he's not wrong.
He's just sitting with a smirk on his face.
I mean, he's one of the modern day greats for a reason.
I'm going to give you another fact.
Okay.
one team will win out of these two.
Who was it? I was casting with someone. This isn't... Was it you? Where someone was like, it's going to be a win or a loss. And then they said, or as if it was going to be a draw. And I was like, no, it wasn't. It was on Thursday with Solari, because I had to explain to her about EULCS when it used to be best of twos.
Okay.
And she was in shock. She was like, how is this a decision that was made? And I was like, Solari, you're asking the right questions.
They didn't ask back then.
No, they didn't, but we are onto the rip that, if you don't watch NLC Division, here's an ad segment. If you don't watch Division 2 for NLC, Tuesdays and Thursdays, same time, same place, you're missing out because it's incredible. It's just brilliant. I'm there sometimes, Hitbrain's there, Jamada. We had Solari on M-Test as well, who's been on Div 1, also Cars down there. A lot of fun.
I'm gonna pull you back.
How dare
to
you?
this game, NYYRIKKI versus Dusty. Now, looking at the pink pony, which is Rel. Abagnale is playing it. They're trying to go for that early invade. Of course, denying blue buff from Talia is going to be huge. It takes down your clear speed a lot because you do suffer
they've got
4 mana. Now the problem is, for Dusty, NYYRIKKI have an arguably better level 1. You've got Kalista, you've got the
knockup's coming on through. NYYRIKKI are going to be fighting this on Tooth and Claw. First blood goes to Kalista, but Azator now caught out. Dembox's going to follow through and get the return kill. And now NYYRIKKI needs to be careful. Arrow over the wall, though, is there for some snipes as he flashes forward, looking towards Backland, who's going to have to flash away himself, but caught out with the stun and will fall down. Flipper securing the kill. The blue buff is successfully denied.
I'm going to say one thing.
Okay.
Flipper, 100% kill participation on the Volibear. It's the redemption arc, baby. Oh, I spoke too soon.
I don't know. Still has 100% kill participation.
And that's taken away.
But has now died. Fortunately, he hasn't died twice, which is good news. But, okay, this is the...
100% death participation.
We've had this is the question, because we said we want to see Azator early, get aggressive, get fighting. Kind of happened.
Yeah, it's really funny, actually, because when we had an interview with Azator, we usually remember Azator as that late-game scaling, hyper carry, on the Jinx, on the Aphelios, especially if you think of, like, Spring Split.
Yeah.
But he said himself...
Looks like he might be in a bit of trouble here, actually. Flipped over his shoulder, and it's the shutdown going over onto Azator, who's going to chase Stent down as well. Stacking up the Ren, will be knocked airborne by Abagnale. The shield is there. It's enough for the double. What? Why?
I'll tell you why. Back to the interview. Azator said, I do enjoy the Jinx Aphelios meta, but I want to expand. I want to play for that early game. I want to be able to snowball, and that's exactly what they're doing. You mentioned it. We said level 1 Kalista is probably one of the strongest carries in the bot lane. They use that. They use the fact that Drell has a pretty strong combo, level 1 as well. They take the blue buff away. You've got the Volibear too. So that's a pretty darn good start if you are bot side for NYYRIKKI. Flipper might have gotten himself caught again.
Going to be flipped back by Lyncas, and I don't think there's any way out for the bear. He's going to be cut down by Kerberos, who's going to secure the kill.
Almost 100% death participation.
He's doing his best. But, right, so 7 kills, 4 minutes. Welcome to the NLC if you're just joining us.
Welcome to the LP, I mean...
Yeah, the L, there's an L in both. The LLC, that's something else. That's a legal term. Don't use that. But, okay, so who does this state of affairs favor? Because I know NYYRIKKI want to be going aggressive with that bot lane, and that is what Azator's done. Are they going to be particularly happy about this? I think Arrow's
can kill him.
Oh, okay, Arrow gets out alive. Double tower shot.
Double tower shot, but honestly, this is what you do with Yone every time you want to combo. You dive deep, you take 1, you take 2. On the second one, during the second tower shot, you snap back into position. I actually thought that the pop damage from the Shadow was actually going to kill Arrow right there, but thank you very much, durability patch, for the extra defenses and HP that you've given to champions early game. Talking about early game, Azator, 3-1 onto this Kalista. He's super freaking strong. Now, taking into consideration who he's playing against, it is an Ezreal. If you somehow manage to get anywhere near the champion, he is extremely squishy. This is why he's also running the exhaust, which we saw being popped down level 1. Sten is in a lot of danger, and the Ezreal is also in a lot of danger right now. As you will see, the bot lane will be perma-shoving, which means it gives Flipper an avenue to play the game from the bot side river, which is exactly what they're going to do right now. Shoving 2.5 waves worth of minions underneath Dusty's tower. Dusty gonna move away from tower, therefore you've got 3 members into the river, and Ziggy B again. A wild Ziggy B appeared.
Dragon goes down though. NYYRIKKI securing that one. Don't know why Ziggy B appeared on our monitor, but always happy when there's an animal just appears.
I think she had a hippo in her mouth as well, like a toy.
That's good. I mean,
Any animals.
all puppers are good puppers. This is a true statement. Let's talk about top lane a little bit, if we may, because I believe...
You really like your Orns, don't you?
Do you know what? I'm actually not averse to a good Ornn every now and again. We're actually going to see mid lane a little bit of a tussle. I'm just waiting for... Let's see if they're even panning out. We've got members moving towards them. Hero might need to be a little bit concerned that stuff might be afoot as Lyncas and Sten are both sneaking
I kind of
on
think
in.
this is not for Aero right here.
Oh, no,
Viper
Flipper.
needs to find Flipper in his own jungle.
Item to flash forward from Lyncas. They're looking to try and take him down, but the fancy footwork sees him dodge away along the CC. It won't get away from all of them, though, as the damage comes on through.
4 members on the top side of the map for Dusty, just so they can push Flipper outside of his jungle. But the fact that he does not die is pretty huge. Mid lane is safe for now with Aero. He doesn't die, which means his bot lane gets a lot more time to play the game and snowball that Kalista. The fact that Aliyah is permanently on the top side of the map, the fact that then Voxen has been left alone and Stand is roaming the map, means that this Kalista Rel are able to take complete control of the bot side.
There's nothing to fight over there, but Lyncas is just going to be removing the vision as he's going to clear that one away. We will have the Rift Herald up in a minute, as has already been mentioned, so that's going to be a consideration as we get a scrap back and forth in the top lane as Curb is maybe looking to make Banderas pay, but let's have just a think about...
You were itching for that, man.
I want to talk about these 2 players because we talked about Banderas at the top of the show, saying, look, this guy, he's performing...
He was popping off on that Fiora.
Above his station, really, when you look at the performances and say, Banderas actually been super, super consistent. On the other side, Kerberos, someone that we know and love, has been doing a lot of work himself.
See, so here's the thing, right? If you're looking over, because these top laners are basically swapped, because Dusty's playing right side and Ricky's playing blue. So for a team that is 3-7, the fact that the damage percentage that Banderas is doing is very close to Kerberos. He has 1 extra solo kill, which, yeah, okay, happens as a stat, but the death percentage is so far lower than Kerberos, which means that Kerberos gets a bunch of isolated deaths perma pushing on the side lane. Now, Kerberos is on a champion like the Camille. You definitely want to be split pushing later on with this champion, but you can also pretty easily team fight. But having the Ignite right there, you do pose a threat towards the top side of the map. NYYRIKKI, though, are going to take the ever-strong Kalista in the early game towards the top side. Make sure you secure the Herald. If you look towards the bot side, there are 4 turret platings remaining, but you also have a pretty good wave towards the top side. You can actually insta-pop Herald top side and actually bank a bunch of gold onto the Kalista because Stand on the Nautilus showed up mid.
And with Flipper having ultimate, this would make this a very potent play if NYYRIKKI decide to pull the trigger on it. But Sten and Lyncas are going to head on up to give an additional amount of support.
Yeah, this is where you back because they actually saw Buckland through 2 wards, not even 1, heading towards the top side of the map. Now, somebody we didn't necessarily talk about too much is Buckland, who has been having insanely pop-off performances. The LeBlanc, we saw it earlier in the pre-show as well. I think he had 2, maybe 3 solo kills on that one in the game. Then he also played the Yasuo and he went completely undying from start to finish. He was popping off on the Yasuo, this time on the Yone. Reminder, Buckland is the only remaining member of Dusty's roster in the spring split. The entire team was rebuilt around this guy, and this season he has been popping off.
And I mean, that roster was a very competitive roster.
Absolutely, very deep run in playoffs.
Roster, which did exceptionally well. Backland was the one they decided to stay and almost build around. Lyncas needs to be a little bit careful as he's going to be able to run and then skate away from the chasing NYYRIKKI members. When we talk about...
Is that skating or surfing?
I think it's surfing. I think, yeah, because Zeri kind of skates, doesn't she?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. No Zeri today we've seen. Of course, the AP Zeri was nerfed on the patch that we're currently playing on 12.12. For those of you keeping track at home. But yeah, no, I mean, going undying on Yasuo, super impressive from seeing how Yasuo's usually play. But back to
That's in our solo queue though,
that's
by
everyone's solo queue games from what I've heard from our people. But look, you built a really strong Dusty roster around Backland, who is playing very, very well in the past couple of weeks especially. You look over at NYYRIKKI, who of course got Aero, Azator, Abignale coming back. And a lot of people were saying, myself included, it must be admitted, that maybe these aren't the players that are going to rejuvenate and revive NYYRIKKI with the additions that they've got. But honestly, they're looking like a much better unit.
And I think talking about reviving essentially the roster, I feel like you fall back onto the back of Azator, giving him more early game agency, which is happening right here.
Abignale going on through, the tower's being turned off and the damage is coming on down. Azator's looking to throw a member back into the mixer as Flipper dives away. Abignale will be forfeit, but it is a 1-for-1 exchange.
I think this was pretty much a desperation play as well to possibly get a kill bot and put down the Herald, but when you do not spot where Lyncas is onto the Taliyah, it's really hard to execute a dive when Taliyah is there to instantly punish you, and that's exactly what happened. You ended up trading support for support, but ultimately Kalista is now with no mana down the bot side of the map. Ezreal is still there, Perma Shelvin, which means that Dusty are going to secure their first Dragon of the game. If we see this again, you'll see Shelvin in a wave, pretty much gives away the idea that you want to dive. Really great ultimate right there coming in from Abagnale, but the fact that Lyncas is around, look, the fact that he puts the rocks down means that Kalista cannot walk forward. Every time a champion dashes or hops or skips or jumps on top of these rocks, they get stunned for the duration of that dash. And Taliyah is a little bit deadly.
We saw it in the JDXL X7 game last week.
True.
How unpleasant that one can be as Curb is just diving on forward, but a lot of money going into Azator's pocket once again. It would be incredible if I could see the gold actually, just to see what Azator is working with at the moment financially, because they have been putting all of their eggs in this Kalista box.
Yeah, he should definitely have his shield bow now that he's going to back. He has 100 CS. He's got 3 kills. Yeah, there you go. He's got 3 kills and an entire tower of turret platings plus first tower in the game gives a bunch of gold. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see them actually going towards the top side of the map. Kerber's in a lot of trouble. 1v1 versus Zorn.
Gonna throw down the ultimatum though. It's not a 1v1 anymore. Lyncas comes through to try and secure the kill. Banderas made, but will die to the Taliyah. This Curb will dive away. Excellent play from Dusty. The rotation was quick and they got themselves a kill.
Absolutely. The fact that Abagnale actually backed before that tower went down, gave all the gold over to Azator, but also unlocked your support first on the map. This is so important. Flipper got himself caught.
Depth charge comes on through, but needs to be careful. Stend will be able to take the anchor to freedom. Backland's hanging around in the wings, looking for the ultimate, lands onto the ulting volley bear. Will be able to take him down, looking towards Abignale. Should look to cut down another. It will be a double kill for the Yone, 1 for each blade as Dusty press on.
Right. I'm gonna request from our team to give me that replay, because for every team that wants to play Kalista and doesn't ban Taliyah, this should be a big lesson from JDXL the previous week and of course this game, because Azator is your strongest member in the team. He's playing the Kalista, he needs to be able to move around. That's the power of the champion, being able to dodge while you're chasing down members. But Lyncas' placement off the rocks. Worked ground, I think it's called? No, that's not worked ground. Yet again. So you see, towards the top side, Banderas overextends, but the exhaust does wonders onto Kerber. Kerber's gonna turn it around, but then Abagnale said he was locked on the map early. Ew for Flipper going in. Kerber's gonna get out. Now look at the follow-up. Holy, the app production smurfing this right here. Thank you so much for the speed up as well. Flipper's going to overextend because they know Azator is around, so they're baiting these fights. Look at Lyncas' placement of the rocks. Puts them down, no one can walk in. Azator cannot dash over these rocks. He's put not a single auto attack on any member from the side of Dusty. And that's the guy you actually rely on to put down the damage. So again, Taliyah into Kalista, very deadly, and Dusty are pulling back on the top side of the map that was meant to be their strong side. 1-0-2 onto Kerber's Camille, 2-1 onto Backland's Yone.
Now the question has to be for NYYRIKKI, how are they going to avoid this situation happening again, potentially around bigger objectives? We've got Dragon up in about 2 minutes, we've got Baron on the menu in 5 minutes, although neither of the teams necessarily are going to be looking to rush that at 20, but they are going to start a team fight in the mid lane, and they catch out Corki. It's a killing spree for Taliyah, as Dusty slow start, but have started to pick up the pace.
They had 4 members in the mid lane. They have 4 members in the mid lane, but not enough vision, unfortunately, for the side of NYYRIKKI. But you should expect it, right? When you've got 4 members in the mid lane and you do not see anyone from the opponent team, most likely going to have 4 members.
Backlund might have overextended here. No way out, and Aztor secures the kill.
Very nice pull on the knock-up right there for Aztor as well. And this is how you possibly can get your Kalista unleashed on the map. You can try to make pick after pick after pick and make it unfavorable in numbers for Dusty to walk into you. Now, this is also going to secure the second Rift Herald of the day for NYYRIKKI, since they do have a man advantage on the map. But of course, Lyncas has to bail towards the bot side, which means that it's been uncontested. You see that Aztor is also pushing the top side wave, which means that most likely we are going to see that Rift Herald towards the top side of the map, taking yet another tower, giving even more gold towards Aztor's Kalista.
But now my query here, when it comes to this game and how NYYRIKKI wants to play this one out, is are they putting too much into Aztor as opposed to spreading it out?
I think this is the correct move right here, because your Corki is suddenly going to do damage. You're suddenly going to have Luden's Echo. At some point, your Mana Moon is going to be stuck. You're going to be doing a lot of poke damage. Ornn does not care at all whether you give him resources or not. At some point, the ornaments are going to come through. The 2 members that are going to get you actually through the early game is the Volibear. That is very strong in the early game. And also your AD carry that you've chosen in the likes of Kalista, that right now has 2 items. Raidsblade also completed. That means you definitely want her to be in this fight. You can pop the Rift Herald mid lane right now, put some pressure down in this mid wave, take that tower, and then move that pressure down into the river to secure the second dragon for NYYRIKKI.
And NYYRIKKI are looking to secure themselves this second tower. Well, the first tower in the mid lane, second for the team, but it does stand just about. Dusty quick to the defense.
Teleport check. Banderas as he's up. Kerberos is coming up in just a second.
Curb does have, obviously, both top lanes have the ability to stop the other one from teleporting, though. So whether who pulls the trigger first, and will it be a response of a teleport? Will it be a response of a bit of CC? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, it is Kerberos getting that split push in the top side, grabbed himself the tower. Mid tower will be secured by Aero as they look towards this dragon. Remember, this won't be huge for either of the 2 teams, because it would be setting up for the dragon that sets up for the soul point.
You know what's huge, though? The fact that this is a cloud dragon.
Yes.
Never mind, I thought that was the second dragon. It's actually the third. It's a cloud soul. And both teams are setting up. Abagnale
Teleport behind both. Teleports coming
around.
in. Now we're going to see a fight here, ladies and gentlemen, as the dragon goes below 2,000 health. Then looking for the engage. The Ornn has been blown up on the back, looking for something, but he's going to get knocked up by Banderas. First kill got fight goes over to Nautilus as Dusty tried to take NYYRIKKI out. The curve is left up creek and will be deleted. Now we can see what Aztor can do. He's about half health to 3v4. The dragon will be forfeit as NYYRIKKI decides it's just not worth it.
Yeah, and I think as long as Talia is still alive,
manages to grab back Aztor, who's going to try and get away, but he's just turning his attention towards Dusty. They remove another, and now they're deciding against going after Standard and Box.
Oh, that was a really nice cut right there. Oh my God, Aero!
He's looking for the
I'm gonna try to speak. Okay. That was a really nice catch from Lyncas right there. Unfortunately, his team was too far away to follow up with the damage, and this time Aztor moved forward. Again, if we see this fight, this is a pretty good flank from Abagnale, but he doesn't follow it through. He failed the Hex Flash. He failed the Hex Flash on the wall, which means he couldn't get a big 4-man ultimate on the 4 members of Dusty down the bot lane, down the bot side of the map, sorry. And Kerberos was keeping busy 3 members of NYYRIKKI towards the top side river. But then again, the fact that Talia is still alive, Aztor cannot necessarily play the game too much. Right here, he will get knocked up, but Banderas is the one blocking all of the skill shots from both the Talia and the Ezreal, which means that Aztor gets room to dash forward and kill Lyncas.
Down but not out at the moment, of course. If you look at the just below the top bar, you can see our momentum meter, trademark, not actually trademark, should specify that one, but our analysts have decided that NYYRIKKI are still just about favored in this matchup. Would you agree?
Oh, they just did you dirty, by the way.
Bro, what? Okay. Our analysts behind the screen have decided that Dusty are just about favored. Would you agree with them?
I don't necessarily think so, just because of the fact that your Kalista is already really fed, and then the...
No, I've never liked Archrom. Come out and say it.
You know what? This is probably an American with this, right? Oh, here we go again. All right,
If you're not done having fun out in the... I will come out there Don't make me come back there. I will do it.
All
I'm
right,
not
so
professional enough to stay
I would say
here.
the fact that Azure is sitting right now at 6-1 is a huge win condition for the side of NYYRIKKI. The fact that they're using him to take every single outer tower there is, both mid and top, giving him a lot more gold. You see that Banderas onto this on. He's slowly but surely 1v1 in a Camille on a sideline. Oh,
Arle is going to be caught out, taken out. Aztor dives him back in. Go Gadget. Oh, he's dead. As Aztor is going to try and escape, but he's also deleted. NYYRIKKI, that wasn't the play.
yeah, whatever I said, just scrap it. Just scrap it, don't listen to it, because if you get caught in the river and Lyncas gets his rocks down,
Errors catches one. It's only Voxley. He goes low, though, might be sniped, but won't be caught out by Error this time. As Backlund secures another, but members are a little bit too low. I don't know, Arrow's hanging about. Curb is there. The ultimate goes wide, but ultimately, Curb is just going to go for the ultimatum. That's too many use of the term ultimate, but Curb secures the kill. Baron's not on the menu, though.
Feels bad, man. The second you try to escape and you've been already locked in by Camille's ultimate, feels bad, man. Now we see this one more time again. Abagnale and Flipper, they're just not tanky enough, and there's a bunch of bursts coming in from Natalia and Ezreal, and then he allows Backlund to actually dive the backline and reach Azita. Yet again, Lyncas is making it so difficult for Azta to play this game. It's so difficult for even Flipper to play this game, walking past these rocks, getting knocked up every single time, getting popped. That means your front line is gone. That means it makes it so difficult for the Kalista to play around these fights, and it also unlocks Yone from Buckland to actually dive in once that front line is dead. That's a feels bad, man.
That is just getting caught, and Kerbros helping secure the kill. The Baron ultimately was not taken. No one was able to secure it because health bars were a little low on Dusty's side. They've now reset back onto the Rift, both teams. And you can see that it is Dusty in the favorable position right now. 2,000 gold to the good, 2,500 even over their Finnish counterparts. Iceland versus Finland, probably geographically the furthest away two teams from each other, I reckon.
Probably?
Probably. So that's a fun little fact for you. It might be wrong. I don't
That's a
think it is.
fact that might be wrong.
Check me and let me know in Twitch chat if that's correct. But right now these teams are relatively close, is the segue. And with Dragon coming up in 20 seconds time, Dusty setting themselves up for Soul Point, even though it's only Cloud.
I just feel like NYYRIKKI need to take complete control of that mid lane and start shoving in the wave. The way that you fight against a Talia, if you're Kalista, is to try and fight in wider spaces, such as the river, such as the Baron. Dusty are not really checking. They're going to do it now. They're tipping in Buckland as well. But the Rend plus Smite, it's really hard to outsmite if you're a Lyncas.
I think they just want this fight. Abagnale and Error on the side with Package and the ultimate looking towards the bottom. He's able to dance away. No one is found. Sten might be deleted, puts the shield up for a second longer. But NYYRIKKI Deathball will be caught by the Yone. Dusty can try and put some parting shots down. Flipper manages to dive forward, but it's a double for Aero ultimately, as then Voxday can't find any more.
Okay, that is a 2 for 3. Yes, but Aero and Azure are literally 1 Q away from dying from the Voxnay's Ezreal. So right now, I'm giving the absolute W to Dusty. They're taking the mid lane tower. They're finding this fight as well. And they're going to secure the 3rd dragon of the game, which puts them on Soul Point. NYYRIKKI are going to pull the trigger again.
This time around, though, I'm looking at teleports. Curb is down for 10 seconds. Backlund doesn't have one. The Dragon's been secured. Then Voxday's the first responder. But it's a 3v1 situation. He's trying to put the poke down onto Aero. I'm looking who else is turning up. There's the teleport.
They're going to use the Rend. They're going to use the Rend as a smite. They have to bail, though, because Kerber's coming in.
Managed to clear it out. And once again, the Baron is unfinished as Dusty too quick on the draw.
Whew. Okay. I do commend them for going for this place because it forces a bunch of teleports, which means now they can actually try to maybe play the map a little bit better and create some pressure. Now, you'll see this one, Abagnale misses the ultimate right there, still zones away 3 members from the side of Dusty, which then allows NYYRIKKI in turn to take 2 of their teammates down first until they can turn it on to Lyncas. And eventually, they are going to give a double kill, to the Voxen as well, if I'm not wrong, but ultimately, the fact that Abagnale, yes, he missed but his on the way members, 3 members long enough for NYYRIKKI to take care of whoever was left behind from the sort of Dusty. I have to say that the teamfights have not necessarily been the cleanest from both sides. It's a little bit difficult for us to play into Taliyah due to the dashes and the stunts from the rocks. And it's also a little bit difficult for Dusty to actually find the engage in very wide spaces.
Dusty aren't moving into wide spaces, they're moving into narrow corridors. NYYRIKKI being kept in their own jungle, but here's the engage. This time from Rel, it's much, much cleaner as they manage to find Stend and Vox there. He's dead. They're both dead as NYYRIKKI take 2. Curb isn't there, though. He's doing the PvE thing. He might trace out
blocked
tower.
them. He blocked them from going to Baron. Look at the bot side of the map. Kerberos is perma pushing. He does not have a teleport. He's most likely going to go for an inhibitor tower here and trade it.
Oh, Backlund manages to catch on to That's a lot of damage, but the Rel doesn't die. Yone will burn down. Shut down for the Corki. And that was a 1v5 at Baron Pit, but look at Curb.
Lyncas, he has a blast cone, he has a flash, he has a smite, and everyone is really low
Rel
HP.
is dead, so the defender is gone. Lyncas is going to look around the side potentially, but in the end, he's going to go for the contest.
The inhibitor.
They're going to be able to get the empowered recalls, which is going to be nice for them. Curb should be able to get the inhibitor, but won't be able to get much else.
Much else. Okay, so this is why Kerberos and Jaxplank are the 2 probably most feared top laners that we have in the NLC, because their raw split push power and the pressure that they can put through a side lane, I think is so far has been unmatched on the NLC. For Kerberos on this time, on a champion that can both split push and team fight on the likes of a Camille, he has put so much work. They knew that they most likely were going to lose this Baron from the sort of Dusty since they didn't have the members to fight right there. But Lyncas managed to stay alive, tried to steal the Baron, didn't work. Kerberos nevertheless takes an inhibitor tower. Now, NYYRIKKI, to make the Baron worthwhile, they need to at least possibly trade the same. But so far, they've got 3 outer towers that they need to deal with.
Backlund's the one defending this bot lane tower, but there are multiple members of NYYRIKKI with that Baron buff and 2 Baron empowered cannons looking to press on. Backlund gets a knock up, but won't be able to defend much further. And this tower should crumble. Members are pushing mid down as well. NYYRIKKI looking to get the status quo.
Yeah, this is not very quick, is it? Okay,
Sometimes.
So the idea here is that you would like to possibly delay or stop these minions from going down, so you definitely want to be blocking these skill shots from Ezreal to try and build up a big enough wave to push that tower. Kerberos does not care that Banderas is there. He's just going to push straight into the towers.
Now he's going to do a decent amount of damage to the Ornn as well. I'm keeping my eyes on the main screen as well, because Dusty needs to defend. The Ultimate Agent was burnt, though, as Ornn should be able to dive away. Actually gets taken down. It's a teleport and an empowered recall as Arrow's looking to go and defend. Curb is full health and the Corki
he
is
just
not.
lost half his HP the second he got in. Level 16 on Kerberos' Camille as well. Is going to take down Banderas, going to take the TP from Aero, and Aero has to Valkyrie away as well if he wants to stay alive. Lost half his HP with 1 Q, if I'm not wrong. NYYRIKKI in a really rough situation right now because Dusty have created yet again themselves a late game win scenario from a side lane with Kerberos' Camille, which you're going to need to commit at least 2, I will say 3 people to try and kill this Camille, because the fact that the Ornn dies that easy, the fact that Aeros Corki is in danger, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's not in a great position. Flip will actually manage to take Taliyah off, and Kerberos now caught out. It's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange, and if Lyncas can get away, I think he probably can. Actually, Abignale is going to be Go-Go Gadget into the backline as Taliyah falls.
And that is going to be 3-4 members from the side of NYYRIKKI on the map. They're going to give Soul away to Dusty because they're not in position to do so. They're all the way to the top side of the map. So yet again, yes, Dusty do lose 2 members. They lose their jungler and their top laner, but in return, they do manage to get themselves Soul, which is going to be very important for them moving fast around the map, and especially when you play a team that wants to play the side lanes. I think this does count a lot. Again, I think Kerberos has created Dusty another win scenario from the side lane. You're going to need to put at least 2 to 3 people to try and stop him on a side lane. And let's not also forget our Buckland is now hitting 3 items on the Yone. He's super scaled into the late game. Again, level 16 versus level 16 onto the Camille. I think he was very lucky because that was the package actually Aero had a package on him, which means that he did a lot more damage than the traditional W would have done, but very well played from Alistair. Grabs Abagnale and throws him over the rocks, which means that the roll doesn't get stunned and they end up shutting down Lyncas as well.
Doesn't matter how much you get CC'd if you're the Rel, because the ultimate from Callista's still going to land because it's her doing the ability, not the Rel, and then you're not stunned for that long, so then you can put your CC, you can layer it on top, which is realistically what you want to be doing in that situation anyway. So thanks very much, Talia, for making that one a little bit easier for the opponents. But we find ourselves 30 minutes into the game. Soul on the one hand, no Baron on the other anymore, but of course NYYRIKKI were the ones securing that one.
What are we building?
Oh, okay. How confident are you with the names of ornaments?
Not confident at all, I don't know a single one.
Okay, you don't cast me enough, because me and Jabal play a game called What's That Ornament Called? Where I will literally stop the cast and just ask him what it is. We've done it mid-team fight before. It's not very professional. Unfortunately, I don't know if I know the name of any of the ones. I know it's Leandri's
Anguish?
I believe.
Ah, I knew that one.
That's one.
Okay, that's one.
I don't know if I know the other one.
I don't know about Shield Bow.
No. No, I don't either.
So, back to this game. It is only 2,000 gold diff, but that's of course have Soul for them, and they've got the bot lane inhibitor taken for them as well, which means that bot lane is going to be perma-shoving. Somebody needs to be perma-clearing it out.
It has just come up.
Of course it has, just as I said it, but they clearly have a very open win condition towards the bot side of the map, because Kerberos is going to take this opportunity, take the wave and go towards the bot side of the map. Now, what does that give you? It gives you a lot of freedom with Baron. 30 seconds, the Baron is going to come up on the map, and Kerberos is going to be perma-shoving towards the bot lane, because he does have teleport to join the fight. Level 17 Camille. I'm just going to point out that Aztor, who's a very fed member from the side of NYYRIKKI, is level 15, 2 levels down. Abagnale, level 13. He is now 5 levels down because Kerberos just hit level 18 and he looks very scary.
Objective bounties are going to come onto the Rift as well. Kerberos is truly the world's greatest super minion. And now he's got that Hullbreaker. He's going to be even more potent in the split push. They've had to send Aero to be the one to contest him. But this means the Baron's going to be started up on 4. There are members to contest from the NYYRIKKI, but they're a little bit slow on the draw. I don't think they're going to get there in time as the Purple Worm is deleted by Lyncas.
Yeah, that's a little bit too little too late from the side of NYYRIKKI trying to check for the Baron, but I don't think necessarily they could actually fight this one. The second Kerberos again TPs into the fight. It becomes extremely dangerous to actually get away from that Camille, and you've got a lot of follow-up. The second you lock someone in, Buckland's gonna dive in with the Yone. You're gonna have knockups from Lyncas as well. Then Voxn's ultimate. It's really difficult for anyone to play the fights versus this Camille. But then at some point, you're gonna have to try and play the fights versus this Camille, because slowly but surely the pressure from the Baron up minions and the silence is gonna start bleeding into your base, and NYYRIKKI is gonna have to pray for one last fight to go well and hope that Azure is going to be able to play this fight around the Talia rocks.
My question for you then is, NYYRIKKI, if you were NYYRIKKI, would you be looking to try and bundle onto Curb or match him, or would you be looking to bundle onto everyone else while Curb's not there?
I'd say try to bundle it on everyone else, because it's much easier to kill a Talia, to kill an Ezreal, to potentially even kill Sten, who's level 12, right? You've got a level 17 Corki, level 15 Kalista as well. Would be easy to take down this Nautilus, especially since Sten is working towards that Hourglass, but doesn't have it yet. You can actually punish that, and suddenly, slowly but surely, start making picks on the map to the point where Dusty are on a numbers disadvantage, and then maybe you try to gag up on Kerberos towards the top side of the map. I think this Camille, again, needs at least 3 members to take him down at this point. Full items, but 1. 2 lanes pushing right here for Dusty. NYYRIKKI are going to have to pull the trigger.
Yeah, there's the Old Horn being utilized. It will land onto a 1. It's just Voxney who's caught out, but caught out he is. And that's the Ezreal being deleted. The rest of Dusty fade back into the woodland.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that that was 2 flashes expended right there, and an ignite from Abagnale to kill 1 Ezreal. What can you get back in return? Because 50 seconds from now, the Elder Dragon will pop up, but then Voxney will be up just in time.
He will, but he's going to have to run on down. His ultimate will be able to contribute, but his body might not be there initially, especially if NYYRIKKI use this time to move into the river, get themselves some control, because they have these tools that they can use to fight.
This is giving me Riddle versus Astralis flashbacks, where Jaxman was pushing the side lane and he needed 2 carries to come and stop him. He kills both of them. He still loses Elder. but he ends the game, and it might be the case.
Arrow caught out, and the package will not take him anywhere. He's stuck with Curb, who's looking to put down the final touches. Will be able to do so. Banderas is there probably to secure the kill, but Kerberos is very strong. This is what you were talking about. He can't be taken down by 2 members, maybe slowed by Banderas.
Yeah, that was 2 members again. Used towards the top side of the map to try and stop this Camille. Mind you, that was the TP from Banderas to try and join.
Ooh, Backlund is able to get away. There's the order from Deadbox, then he will be here for the Elder fight. Curb on the side is still scrapping on. Backlund looking at the side, trying to get some damage onto Flipper. Will be able to do so as now the Dragon 5k health. Curb is uncontested in the bot lane now as Astor tries to help Agminali get away, but he's not going to be able to get Volibear out. And Rel dives onto the fire to try and see Aztor to freedom, but it's only 1 member, and I just don't think it's enough.
I don't think it's enough as well. The TPs are going to come in. Kerberos is already prepping the wave. He's brought super minions with him. Sorry, minions with him. Bot side is pushing as well. I think Dusty have a pretty clean win here.
NYYRIKKI, ultimately, in the beginning, looked brilliant. They had the aggressive early game that we wanted. They followed the game plan. But unfortunately for them, unfortunately for the Icelandic fans, Dusty were a little bit too good. Kerberos on the side lane, we've said that before, secured themselves the victory.
Dear Diary, next time I want to play Kalista, ban Talia.
She's not actually writing anything.
I'm not writing it. I can't write like this. It won't make sense. I did write dear.
You did write dear.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, it's like NYMYRIKKI's book. You look in the book, it doesn't actually have anything in it.
He has actually some stuff written.
That's the
there.
secret. Yeah, but it's not.
Some names to be taken care of, you know?
Well, hopefully mine is not in there. But we're going to hand over to
I read something like Jacob.
Why would you do that? My mentions are going to be ruined. We're going to hand over to the analyst desk who are going to break down that game.
Thank you. We are back, and it was an interesting game. NYYRIKKI almost had like the the early to mid game. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, I see a hand there. I'm gonna give it to.
You say interesting. Is that like with emphasis on int in the beginning, at least from the early game of what we saw? Because I think this was a really messy game. I was a big fan of it because we got action throughout the entire game. But I think having action in this game with the compositions we saw benefited Dusty's composition way more than it benefited NYYRIKKI's composition.
This specific instance, though, I would disagree with and say it benefits NYYRIKKI. They have to play through Kalista. They have to play through Kalista. And if this bot lane doesn't get ahead, everything falls apart. The problem is that everything on the top side similarly went to crap.
You think getting 2 kills benefits them?
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way it was phrased, sorry. I agree. But I also think that it came with the back of...
Can we send him back?
Invoxter, and I can say this to Invoxter because I know him, okay?
Okay. I'd like that.
Yeah, it's 2 Danes. You know how it is.
I don't.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, you can guess, but I think like his laning phase going into that lane afterwards, just like straight up phase check in, rail that gets low 2 before you, just getting caught in that, no summoner spells either. I thought that was like really egregious and almost cost them the entire game because we even talked about the stakes, right? Don't give Kalista kills in the early game, as you said. We're kind of like fighting on 2 different fronts of the map. And luckily, they picked up the pace later into the game. They got everything together. But I'm really curious as like to how chaotic their comps must have turned in that early game because it was not clean gameplay there.
But that was from NYYRIKKI. They were the one invading. They were the one forcing. And you told me, okay, they needed to do this to begin the game. That was the only winning condition for them. But eventually, we reached that mid game where you see the Camille with agency on the left side. She can join the team fight as well. And
this
we have this one,
This fight is really crazy because you know that Talia is going to control a lot of terrain. You know there's a lot of backline access from the Camille and from Nautilus and from Yone, and that's kind of what happens here. Dusty managed to find the targets that they want to hit, whereas NYYRIKKI have to really work to find those targets again. I will say, I know that Trouble was calling out, you know, when you want to play Kalista, ban away the Talia. I actually think that NYYRIKKI played very well around the Talia, given that it is a on-paper counter. Like, look at what Aztor does here. He actually stops dashing because he knows he's in range, just tap Qs and just like gets a couple of autos out and does a really good job of putting down damage. It was a very difficult game for NYYRIKKI to play in some regards, but actually I feel like given the on-paper disadvantage in the 5v5s into the mid and late game, I actually think they gave it a good crack.
I genuinely feel like they could have done even more with it as well. Like, I think from the early game, they set themselves up with, yes, they traded even in kills, but then you get the bot lane 2v2 going for it, and yes, you're playing into the Volibear, but at the same time, you have, rather, instead, you have the Volibear to play around for that bot lane with, and I think that bot lane could have been equalized on a little further. I think as soon as you got to the mid game and Curb then all of a sudden started being a side lane minutes. I mean, how many times is he going to get away with that? We've seen it on the Fiora. We see it now on the Camille. If he goes unchecked in towards the late game, he is going to take all of your base, and he's not going to give you a decision in terms of do we contest the objective, because you can't. He's in your Nexus.
But let's be honest, you have an Ornn on the late game. You get upgrades and all that. You have Corki, the menace of the late game. Is this not enough if you play to your strengths in terms of team to face Dusty?
I think it's also in
Is
conjunction.
this the maximum?
I think it's in conjunction what it's picked into as well, right? I think you're right. From once, if they could just be at an objective, they poke, they do what they want to with the Corki, it'd be great. But you know, the Ornn is not in a position where he's that strong team fighter, because he has to respond to Camille.
He's a side laner at that
and
point.
Exactly, and he cannot respond to Camille either. So because Kerberos single-handedly gets ahead of a side lane, he disrupts what the composition would do so well that you try and latch onto the fact that they can just play the team fight. They have the long range. You're not allowed to.
Yeah, and this is where a really interesting conversation comes in about not just win conditions, which, as we said, is get the Kalista ahead for NYYRIKKI or something like that. It's also about loss conditions, which is a less talked about thing. A loss condition for NYYRIKKI is actually one of these powerful members has to be on a side lane. And we didn't necessarily pick up on that early enough into the game, because honestly, I thought the game would be over when it hit the 5v5s. Yeah. That wasn't quite how it happened. It went a little bit later than that because of how crazy scrappy that was and how mechanically proficient some of the fights were played out to kind of move away from some of the strengths and weaknesses. But the loss condition was very well recognized by Dusty, and I really want to praise them for pulling apart NYYRIKKI's team composition in the late game.
They were capable of dealing with the chaos at the beginning, going into the mid, and then finishing on the late. That's why we're going to talk with Lyncas from the side of Dusty. Welcome back. There you go. That was a rough game to begin with. Can you run me by your comms as soon as the chaos began in your jungle?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, that word again.
Yeah, we built like I would say silent composition. So when the shenanigans began, we knew we just need to play through the silence. And yeah, thank God we put Kerberos on the Camille, because otherwise this would have been a different result, I think.
And this is something that you see in scrims now often, the red side picking to the top side, getting the split push. Is this coming back into the meta where you get that split pusher going on almost every single game?
I mean, I think like the meta is more around like the team fights and Ocean like solo stacking. So I wouldn't say so. I think it's just we played quite well through the silence, and it kind of works for us because of Kerberos like kind of unique champion pool. So wouldn't say that it's necessarily coming back, but yeah, it's working for us, so who knows.
So from the communication, how do you bounce back from an early game like that? Because it looked very chaotic. Who steps up in your team? Who takes care of the communication to get you guys back on track? Because you got back on track, but how'd you get there?
I mean, it's a team effort, right? Because everyone needs to share the information. I kind of got late invaded low one, unlucky. But like overall, obviously, I need to shot call the early game, so it just went through that. Like we tried to play opposite side from the Kalista, and we tried to get those signers ahead, and it kind of worked. Like they didn't get a good Herald playoff, and Camille slowly got ahead, and yeah, it just felt like that.
With this win, it seems like Dusty are solidifying their chances to be on the playoffs. And tell me now, Lyncas, how do you feel your chances are in playoffs right now, looking into all the other teams, the stacked top 6?
I mean, I think in playoffs we'll do better. Like, best ones are always quite flippy, so it's very hard to judge, but I think we will develop even more over the split. Like, I think we are slowly becoming better and better, so for us, like, playoffs is something that we look for, and I think we'll for sure do well in playoffs.
Okay. Thank you so much for this interview. I think you're not going to play Lee Sin, as we talked about previously, but let's see what happens in playoffs. So thank you so much. Have a nice one.
You need to convince my coach I can't do anything.
Give me his number. Give me a WhatsApp, and I'll talk with him, man. I'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this
Thank
one.
you.
See ya. He really likes Lee Sin, but
I couldn't tell.
he's not a good champion right now.
No,
Is
he's
the
not.
curse.
No,
It's-
in most
it's-
scenarios, it's like, why have you picked this? And I think even when we're watching LEC, we get that same impression at times.
Only time I'll allow it to happen is if you really want to kill combo mid with something like Lissandra and like
Allow it.
and like kill. It's really not good in any other situation. You need to hyper kill lane mid jungle, and even then, there are better champions when other stuff's been removed.
Or if your name is owner, that's pretty much the only exception.
Oh, that's a good
to the
point.
rule.
Yeah, yeah.
Good take.
That's a pretty good one.
Let's talk with NYYRIKKI. Emiserra is waiting for us on the interview. Welcome. Is it? Oh, there you go. Welcome to the show. So, tough one. Really chaotic to begin with. Was this a plan from NYYRIKKI to go straight into the enemy jungler and just wreak havoc?
It wasn't planned to be that chaotic, but of course, yes, it was planned, and I think at the end it wasn't that bad for us, but for sure more chaotic than expected.
Okay, what was the plan for this composition of NYYRIKKI versus Dusty?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't expect the Talia that made the Kalista game a bit more difficult. But for sure, we wanted to play through bot, as we did in the early game, and we wanted that Kalista to be ahead, and it aged well. At the end, she was ahead. We made the Corki scale, but I think Kerberos did a really, really good job in the side lane. And yeah.
So you shouted out Kerberos there. We've been shouting out actually a lot of people on the entire team of NYYRIKKI. Even though the results haven't been going your way, it has felt like there have been a lot of good individual performances. It has been just that last couple of % to get over that finish line in a lot of games. I'm actually wondering from your perspective, is there anyone on the team that you want to shout out as an individual?
Can you repeat? Sorry.
So if you could shout out any individual player on the NYYRIKKI roster as someone that has been doing very well, who would you shout out?
I mean, I would say Banderas, as probably expected, as probably a lot of fans will do it, because he's playing pretty well, and his Fiora gives a lot of emotion, as we saw against Astralis. Yeah, for sure, Banderas.
To wrap it up, Emiserra, it seems like the team is an awesome team. You have a lot of names that you can shout out in the mid, in the bot. You have a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it seems like you guys are not getting there. Do you believe it's going to be really difficult now that you lost versus Dusty to get into playoffs? Or do you still believe in the team?
I think for sure it's more difficult, but it is still possible. I think we have good possibilities to do it because we are still showing improvement. I think we are still showing close game that it can be both way. As against Astralis. Also today, I think we had our spot to win. And I think we can do playoff. For sure it's harder, but we have still good possibilities, in my opinion. And I still believe the guys can do it.
Last question, because you told me that. Of the top 6, which team do you think you can take their position to playoffs?
Oh, that's so harsh.
Yep.
That's really, really hard because I know the team are really close. I would say probably Astralis or like 7. I think every
I just met you. I love you, dude. I love this answer.
I'd like to see it.
No, really interesting. Let's see if that happens. Thank you so much for this interview. It was a pleasure to get to know you, and I hope to see you again.
Pleasure for me.
Have a nice one.
Thanks for having me.
I really want to make this question more often because I want to know who do you think they're going to take. I know
they're all going to end up picking one team, and all of a sudden that team is going to get bullied.
Yeah, chaos. Chaos.
Gives us free reign to, because the thing is that then we could just say, oh, but this guy said it on an interview, so therefore it's completely reasonable for us to say it.
Yeah, I mean, good quotes. Fair enough.
Gives you this guy's just fishing for a Casus belly to go bully teams. A Casus bully, if you will.
To be fair, if anyone's nice to the players, it's probably him. So if anyone needs to be... Yeah, I mean, you probably build up...
Welcome to Dark Archeron.
I'm an evil guy. Let's look into the standings to see how this game affected. And there we go. Dusty now in 3rd place with this one. NYYRIKKI are really, really below, but they still believe. They still believe.
And I think they have rights to, because they have got, again, these great, brilliant passages of gameplay. You can see they have these individual talented members, but it's just not quite coming together in terms of translating individual good plays away from flubbing on the other side of the map and then things getting into a very chaotic scenario which they haven't quite managed to succeed in. I think that they have the good amount of plays to work there. It's just cutting out some of the negatives while they're winning on other areas of the map.
Look at the top 6.
I mean, yeah, but one thing is, you talk playoffs right now, NYYRIKKI. When do you start talking relegation if this keeps happening?
No. I have a more interesting for you. Can we put the standings yet again? Because we did this on a previous day.
Hey.
Goldberg.
Yeah.
From the bottom 4, who do you think can go to the top 6?
From the bottom 4?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably go with Venia since it's more like just logistically speaking easier for them to get up there. So that's going to be my bet.
Okay, that's how you look into things.
That's a really good question, though. You look at, like, Eminem just beat X7.
Uh-huh.
Have had some awesome games, but haven't come away with wins. Whoever is playing that team, because it's the bottom 2 that goes through to relegations, I am so sorry for you. I've seen Div 2. There's a lot of strong teams out there.
They
but
are.
These teams in the bottom 4, I mean, Singularity are obviously struggling, but a lot of the others are punching above their weight.
So, you know where we are on the standings. And for those of you who are new at the NLC, we really enjoy chaos.